Look, the general just took sorcerer levels instead of the proper wizard class. Don't blame him for being weak. Oh, I get it. So he's a arcane trickster as opposed to a wizard. I see. Oh, we got another player war. I think that things are breaking out over here between these two. Who are you fighting? No, it's Vern. Oh, interesting. So the Ruinborn are going up against Vern because of their perfidious colonizing ways and going after Wyvern's Bay. And then yeah, oh, wow, Wyvern's Bay is really big. Vern does have an army over here. Ruinborn can't actually see anything of this. But it is Boyaskarvo versus Vern Neckcliff. Neckcliff? Oh, it's not Neckcliff, it's Necklife. Oh, that's harsh. Neck lives. Oh man, that would be a terrible name and also kind of hilarious. But it's not actual Neckcliff. I was like, that would be a betrayal I couldn't imagine. Meanwhile, Rel Skulk are continuing to take all of these territories, and there's basically nothing that Ovdal Azdir can do about this. They really should have been trying to build a couple more forts to stop this from happening. They've not been very good at defending their regions. In fact, it looks like the only fort they actually have is in their capital. As the dwarves, you kind of want to be defensive, especially if you have a bit of a juggernaut next door. And Tanya can see exactly how big Rel Skulker are. Meanwhile, how is Vanrahar doing? They seem to be doing pretty well. Less manpower than I kind of anticipated. I thought this area was really wealthy. I think it probably becomes really wealthy if you manage to unite the lot. Kind of like Lake Federation. Yeah, I think that's probably the case. It's just a case of slow growth. Meanwhile, in the Lake Federation, we do have Vajikiv. Now, I've been told that their strength on the map is irrelevant. The thing that matters is how many of the missions they've done, and the further down the mission tree they go, and they've gone a really bloody long way. They're down to here. They're trying to get to United Federations. They need to complete a growing administration, Federation needs, and a meritocratic army. Once they have those three, they can do the United Federation, and then they will instantly inherit the whole Lake Federation. And that's when their game really starts. Meanwhile, Marhold's army sent packing. We missed the great strike back. Phoenix Empire has finally decided to show up to help out their elven buddies. I do think it was a mistake for Marhold going into the woods. You just want to keep this as a defensive battle. It looks like Adenica has also pieced out now. They have. So unfortunately, the weak link in the Adenica-Marhold alliance was exploited. And I think that Marhold made a mistake going into the forest instead of supporting their ally. And they lost an ally because of it. I didn't choose the Necklife. The Necklife chose me. And without Adenica's support, I don't know that Marhold really has the numbers he needs to keep this fight going. You have an army tradition of 90? Oof. 22% morale. Yes, please. Yeah, if I was Marhold, I would move that fort to here and really make it the overwatch for people coming through Vertrin, because river crossing into the woods, it's a really good spot to defend. And it would stop them from taking potential war goals which are non-fortified, like Hornwood. Like, all Sinvar has to do is park an army there, and then that's 25 war score gone. The elves rushing at Adenica saved them the war, and Marhold not rushing back lost them it. Yep, 100% agree. That was a really, really big strategic mistake there. which will probably win the Elves this war. I mean, what won the Elves this war was Arboran. Arboran won the Elves this war. After Adenica started showing its weakness, it was kind of... the bell was tolling. That is a 3-star general. 6 shock. Is that a mercenary army? Let's click on Vern proper. Nope. Oh, of course, they have the Nolish army as well. I was like, flesh wearers? What kind of good, wholesome human armies are those? Answer, they're not. So I really don't know how much Vern is going to be able to do about this, because Vern also has another ticking time bomb, which is the election. Although several of these guys are now voting for Istralor as opposed to Westham, but that's still not going to be enough to save Vern. Like, literally nobody is voting for Vern right now. And if that happens, then they will lose a bunch of their military power. So Vern did get a good jump on one of the Boyascavo's armies here. They split themselves up too much. I mean, this is going to be a difficult war for Boyascavo because they can't see enough of Wyvern's Bay, and these guys are going to have to march through, but I'll bet... oh no, they can see the path. Even then, Boyascavo's 10k is holding. 3.7 morale against 3.4, otherwise the armies are basically the same. 5% more discipline, but that's it. 20,000 are going to march in, but this is now going to be an attack into forest with a river crossing potentially. Maneuver 4 versus Maneuver 2, no river crossing. So it's going to be at a -1, 20,000 against 20,000. This is probably going to be down to quality of the armies. And Malknar does have a plus 45 infantry combat ability. And that infantry combat ability is showing through, although the casualties are exactly the same. Like, literally, digit for digit, they're identical. But Vern is slowly being sent packing here. Because they don't have artillery. I reckon that was because Boyascavo had artillery in the back line for that little bit of an extra edge. And that's what they needed, and Vern's army sent packing. So is Vern sending more troops over? They are. That's another 15k arriving. It is going to take them a little time to get the military roused and over there. But it's happening. Meanwhile, we've got Adenica versus Sinvar once again with... sorry, Marhold versus Sinvar. Marhold now taking huge amounts of damage because they've got so many infantry mercenaries. They haven't been investing enough in their cavalry, and they are massively over their force limit and are losing a huge amount of money. And this is a war that Marhold just can't hold anymore. I think that fight is finally over, but it has cost Sinvar dearly. They've gone from 28% army professionalism down to 5. They can tap their manpower one more time, and that's it. Whereas Marhold still has 50,000 in the bank. They've barely been using any. In fact, they're technically over their limit right now. The death of the 11-shock general really helped turn the tides. It did, and Adenica being knocked out. And actually, Adenica being knocked out is allowing Adenica to actually start expanding again, which they badly needed to do. And they're going after Clovenblad, Elnor, and Newshire. Trying to take some territory, although Adenica is currently taking... sorry, Elnor is currently taking the northern territories, but it looks like they're going after the Newshire region, trying to expand so that they can actually form a block against Darbaran. It's something that Adenica really needs to do. Their size has definitely been counting against them. Meanwhile, the Relskalka War. Let's see how that one's going. So it looks like Relskalka was actually sent packing, so we've got Ovdam Azdir's armies actually striking back. And Relskalka struggling. Did Kugdir arrive? Nope, Kugdir's still stuck behind the Haraz Oldston lines. But it looks like Avdam Ozdir has just mercenaries. I'm betting, yeah, mercenary. They've hired the independent company, which is something they're not going to be able to afford for very long. And they're going to go deeply into debt, but this is kind of a debt that they have to do. But I'm not sure I would have gone for the independent army. That's an expensive group. think I might have done local adventurers and seg band. That would have cost 15 ducats instead of 23. Unfortunately, Oslam Asdir is dealing with rebels as well. So what's the manpower situation here? So Relskulk still has 33,000 manpower. They are losing a little bit of money, but they haven't taken in loans yet. Oslam Asdir, meanwhile, 13,000 manpower with mercenary manpower too. But they are already 6 loans in the hole. 800 ducats short. Meanwhile, unfortunately, all of the forts are now starting to struggle. The war goal has been lost again, so this ticking war score is just going to go lower and lower against Marhold. And they were unable to retake Nymphleia before it fell. And Denika's war against Newshire has ended. They have expanded and taken some land. Going to keep an eye on the aggressive expansion because there's a lot of people here that don't like this attempt. Oh no, wait, that's Copenblad. Where is Denika? Denika's there. Not nearly as bad as Copenblad's aggressive expansion, but it's still relatively high. But if they're going against different races here, then different people will care. However, that's a lot of negative stability. And you have a peasant war raging. That's why you were having so many rebel problems. Now I understand. Oh, battle. So we've got 58,000 against 50,000. We do have another 50,000 ready to march in. It does look like the numbers might be on Marhold's side, but Marhold now losing a lot more troops. Marhold's going in against a forest attack, which is a mistake. They need to keep the defensive here. They're being a bit too aggressive, and they're losing a lot of men because of it. And also, we do have the Phoenix Empire arriving with their own forces. The numbers are still relatively even, but you just can't afford those level of losses. Jeez! The quality of these armies has switched. 115 discipline against 100. The cavalry, I mean, there are just 12,000 of them. Otherwise, they're relying on mercenaries, and those mercenaries are just dying like flies. And unfortunately, the elven quality with the number of troops they have is just better. And Marhold once again sent packing there. Gun Knights must... Oh, these are the Griffin Knights, right. Cavalry combat. That's another 25% cavalry combat ability. Wait, do they have 100% cavalry combat? Yep. 105% cavalry combat ability on those mercenaries. Madness. That's Griffins, I guess, for you. Did the elves force break the alliance between the two? Yeah, I think so. They fully occupied Adenica, then forced them out the war. I mean, kudos to Helena for sticking this one out, though I'm not sure if the price was worth it. 28 professionalism is a lot. And this is it. Once that 27,000's gone, her manpower is gone. I wonder if Marhold realizes just how close to being tapped Sinvar is. Because Sinvar just kind of needs to force these battles. Except that you're up... Well, actually, I was going to say, except you're up against the Phoenix Empire. Except for the fact the Phoenix Empire doesn't have any manpower either. Oh, they're going for it again. This time it is a mountain battle. Only a -1. Why is that? But Marhold has the advantage. This time inflicting a lot more casualties. Another 10,000 coming in. Phoenix Empire being rather slow to answer this. And if Phoenix Empire does not come, then I think that this is going to be a Marhold victory, which is going to send Sinvar packing. And they are doing a lot of damage here to Sinvar. We've got artillery in the front row. That is not a good look. Artillery in the front row for both sides, in fact. But there we go. It is this time Sinvar sent packing. And Marhold holds. I'm just going to double check how much manpower the Griffin Knights have left. Not a huge amount. So those Griffin Knights are pretty much tapped. The Independent Company are doing okay. The local adventurers are doing just fine. However, I would get rid of this mercenary group. The Survey Corps, get rid of them. You've got no manpower left. Most of these troops are tapped. You're basically paying this army for nothing. Bring in a new group. Too Minty Too Fresh, thank you very much for the raid. Welcome to the stream. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing? For those of you just joining us, this is the community multiplayer of Anbennar, where we have got 20-odd players going at it at the moment. And this is currently the epic struggle between Marhold, which are the griffin-riding humans, based in a dwarven hold, versus Sinvar, which are the... Actually, Cryenvar. I keep on saying that wrong. Cryenvar. They're crying, because they're losing so hard. Wood Elves, who are trying to strike into the human territories. And so far, the humans have been holding, but it's been... edge of the seat close. Meanwhile, we do have the fight going on between Oslam Azdir and Relskulker. Oslam Azdir is actually taking Shattered Crown. If they can take this, and if they can then piece out Relskulker, this will be a dramatic game changer. My question here is whether they can afford to keep up the pressure. There are 8 loans, 1,100 ducats short. They're fighting in an offensive battle, -2. To the rolls at the moment. Morale 4.1 against 3.3, so the dwarves have a lot more morale. The goblins have slightly more discipline, but the -2 combat rolls is just going to count against them here, and the dwarves are sent packing. Relskulker's hold. One of the holds has already fallen, but... no, this hasn't been rebuilt. This is not a hold. Never mind. And Relskulker are just going to go and take it back again. Now... meanwhile, Marhold has managed to take their fort back again. I think if I was Marhold, I would back the hell off and make them besiege this thing again. Although actually the garrison's really, really low, so maybe not. And war score is still ticking down against them because they lost Hornwood. If Marhold wins this, I really want to see them moving Nymphala's castle to Hornwood. And kind of like to see them moving Middley to Woodnath. That makes less sense. Because Middley is actually holding all of this, whereas Nymphalaia, you may as well put it in Hornwood. And then that's going to be one less entry that the elves can use, and basically you'd be fighting over Woodnath. And this would be much easier to fight back for because it would be plains. However, we have... an attack going into the woods. Marhold, this is a bad idea. Do not do this. Phoenix Empire is here to support. Marhold is taking a huge amount of casualties from this battle at the moment. They have the -1 because they're going into the woods, which is why this was a bad idea. But I think they're probably just trying to retake the war goal here. They have another 20,000 coming in with a 3-star general joining the fight. 4.7 morale against 4.1. The tactics on the elven side is still higher. There is a 3-star general coming in on the elven side, and now Marhold is outnumbered. And Cryenvar is just going to take this one back. That was a really bad decision there. I think that the nerves of this fight is probably telling on both sides, because we have been going for almost 2 hours. And this war has been constant since the start. And I think that focus is probably starting to be lost a little. So Marhold still with... you lose so few troops, it's crazy. 5,000 men lost only to the 32,000. That's it. Cryenvar is now tapped. Unfortunately, Marhold had the retreat bug. And that would... oh no, we've seen this from Cryenvar's perspective. Retreat, and that's a stack wipe, unfortunately. So Marhold just lost something. I'm not too sure what they lost there. Local adventures, Marhold army, independent army, Lilac... what? They lost the Griffin cavalry. Oh no. Oh no. And it looks like they did disband the other mercenaries because they were tapped for manpower. There's no reason to keep them around. And brought in some new ones. But they are losing 25 ducats a month at the moment. They have 20 loans! Oh my gosh, Marhold is digging deep for this one. Meanwhile, Cryenvar, no loans yet, can start murking up. That's the scary thing. There we go, they pieced out. Marhold has lost a lot. And no, that's really unfair. See, this is one thing I don't like cutting a nation in half. Yeah, it's a good strategic move, but it's super gamey. And with that, unfortunately, I think that Marhold is basically dead. I don't think that Adenica has much hope. And Arboran and Krynvar is going to divide up Escan between them. And Karuvia is going to be outmaneuvered if they're not careful. Seeing how much they struggled against Esthil, their neighbours are going to have seen that. But yeah, Marhold's dead. Adenica is not going to be far behind. Calling it now. So the next big fight which we are interested in is the Spine of the World one over here, where once again we have Rel Skulkers in the capital of Asdir. And I think that we're going to see the dwarves striking back, trying to take this, although they are letting the goblins just take attrition at the moment. And what happened with this war? I think they just pieced out, or did they release Inek? No, they released Inek. So Wyvern's Bay actually lost a ton of territory. Inek has now emerged from the remnants of that area. Oh, you're still settling this? Oh, you are. How did you do that? How did you get Oslam Asdir before Dagonrod 17? That's a weird one. I'm not sure how they did that. Unless they took this from, like, Frozen. Oh, it's Centaur. They did. Interesting. Oh, here we go. We've got 35,000 angry dwarves coming in against 25,000 miserable goblins. And the dwarves, 33,000 against 27,000 is going to be a -2 for the goblins, because this is basically the battle from the Shattered Crown reversed. And it's going to be a -2 for a nothing. 4.1 morale against 3.3. The only advantage the goblins could have had here was numbers. But honestly, the goblins just need to hold on until Ovlam Asdir goes bankrupt. They are spending such a horrific amount of money. 1,500 ducats in the hole already. They just need to keep the pressure up. Don't necessarily go for the land. Make them bankrupt themselves, then strike back and take everything back again. And that is the only player war going on at the moment. So we've got Holy Victor still trying to expand territories down here. Going after a couple more of their neighbours. Amtarim, Buvari, Paisingra and Shalagagal. This is just a conquest, so it's just for territory. Then we've got Helena in Krynvar going half... No! Leave Stalbor alone! It really is the whipping boy of this game. Just can't get a break. They're being abused more heavily than Adenica have been. Oh man. But it looks like Sinvar is going to expand over here, and this should be worrying Karuvia. Like, if I was Karuvia right now, I'd be seriously reconsidering my alliances. And honestly, they probably should have reconsidered them before Marhold fell. Now that Marhold's gone, Adenica's looking freaking shaky. Karuvia is going to be next on the chopping board. They're going to be... Arboran's going to abandon the Karuvia alliance, and then Arboran and Krynvar are going to ally and take down Karuvia. That's my prediction here. And then it's going to be down to whether Vern and Eberthil care enough to save them. Because the only ally you've got is Arboran. That is not an alliance I would trust. Meanwhile, we can see that the Gnomish hierarchy and Small Country have divided up a bunch more territory from Lorent. Did the gnomes take anything? Nope. So the gnomes are just letting the Small Country grow. I'm not convinced that's a good idea. Yeah, these two are talking about being good allies at the moment, but they've just got so much overlapping territory that their missions care about that I'm just not convinced that that's a good idea. I'm trying to get rid of these. Go away. There we go. And Westmore is a Bjornrik vassal. No! Oh, I'm sorry, Gnomish Hierarchy, but you've been caught snoozing here. You've been far too passive, Faceless. needed to go after these territories to at least connect this together before Bjornrik took out Goward, and unfortunately Bjornrik has now taken them out, and you ain't getting that back. I can't see you beating Bjornrik. And you basically have to go colonial, and you still haven't. You do have exploration ideas, but you really need that overseas exploration. Trade power from the small country. Small country is... Actually, that does make sense. Any overlap between these two, trade-wise, I could probably get around. Meanwhile, Ovlam Azdir has reclaimed all of their territories. True Dagger, meanwhile, have now declared war on them as well, which is these guys, although Oslam Azdir, I think, is going to crush them pretty quickly. Oh, this is actually the Oslam attacks. They're trying to get a free hold from this. Oh no, sorry, a free road. It's not a hold. Is anyone ever going to trust that guy anymore? He's the one that got Marhold killed. Said by the Wood Elves. So you know that's a truth right there. And I really would be very, very worried if I was you, Karuvia. Meanwhile, how's Neckcliff? Razankand is expanding really quickly. Wait, were you the... Yes, you were. Bloody hell, you guys have exploded. How have you grown so fast? You get colonists, you get settler chance. You got exploration maxed out, so you do have six colonists. Okay, no bloody wonder you expand quickly. Legacy of Adventurers, which gives you a free colonist. Settlement Edict, which gives you a free colonist and settler chance. Colonial Office, which gives you settler clan chance and a global settler increase. Orcish Slaves gives you a settler increase. Adventuring Zeal gives you a 50% morale of armies bonus, although that only lasts for another 6 years. And what's your... 170 global settler increase. That's disgusting, especially for an elf. Yeah, I can see why these guys are expanding so fast. Jeez. And they could probably, with the amount of money they have, they could expand faster than this. You could probably afford another 2 settlers going. Meanwhile, Neckcliff has circumnavigated the world. Glad to hear that. So Magama, meanwhile, has expanded a little bit into the Winged Blade on the back of Kraktumvor kicking the living daylights out of them. Trade Federation, Lake Federation is... I'm going to call them the Trade Federation from now on. Is still working through their mission tree, I would imagine. Franrahar is still fighting and will probably be forever fighting because that's just what you do down here. Although manpower is running rather short. Question. Have you been building, like, barracks and stuff yet? Maybe a few. Hard to tell. Oh, that's a big fight going on. 37,000 against 41,000, but they're kicking... Wow. Seriously kicking their opponent here. They have no leader. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, oh, dear. 366 versus a no leader. Yeah, that was always going to be rather one-sided.